Hi friends, welcome to our next installment of Conversations with the Reluctant Missiologist. We're talking about how we can have hope in times of trouble, unshakable hope. And before we get into this a little bit more, a note if you weren't on the last video, that I am blind. That's ironic here in a visual medium of YouTube. But we're going to do it because it's worth talking about what's going on and making it visual. And what are we seeing in the world? And as the world is having what happens happen, how do we see hope? How do we grab onto hope? As we talked about in our last video, hope comes from the story of Jesus, his suffering, his afflictions, and through that story, the God of all comfort provides us comfort, and so out of suffering comes comfort. Michael Goheen talks in mission studies. He talks about all mission comes. I'm missing the quote, but mission comes from suffering or through suffering. We don't like hearing that, but as we look through 2,000 years of history and through the biblical story, it is almost unavoidable. So this is the story of Jesus, the story of early Christians, the story of Christians over the generations. And on today, St. Patrick's Day, even though this may be the most weird St. Patrick's Day I can remember because of the events around us, whether in the US or Europe or the Middle East or Asia, or any of these places that we categorize as geographic locations, the world seems to be coming to a halt, and the economy seems to be falling apart. What we thought we knew, we seem to not know, and nobody does know what or why something is happening, and it's almost not important to know why as much as it is that we can respond in the midst of this and hold on to hope. So as we reflect on St. Patrick's Day, we can draw on Patrick. And one story I have in mind is when Patrick, a runaway slave, returned back to the Celtic country. He decided on Easter he was going to light a fire, even though it went against regulation, that until the king lit his fire, a druid type fire for a different reason, the king would be the first to light the fire. But Patrick was lighting his fire and did it anyway. And that ingratiated himself, surprisingly, to the king and allowed him to have conversation with the king. But he was going to let the light that symbolized Jesus' death and resurrection shine. And Patrick went forward where Jesus led him, with an unshakable hope, even though he knew the king could do very nasty things to him, even though the Celtic people were very tough on him, he held on to hope. And this hope was memorialized or captured. The essence of his story was captured in the Celtic hymn, "Be Thou My Vision," which we sing often today.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word, I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son, thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise, thou mine inheritance, now and always. Thou and thou only first in my heart, O King of glory, my treasure thou art.
We can see what's happening in the world, and in spite of all that calamity, all the trouble, all that is going on, even if we are suffering, we can hold on to this hope that comes from Jesus, a hope that he is our vision, he is our light, he is our wisdom, and God is our inheritance. Hope is not otherworldly. Hope is of this world. Not of this world, but we can have hope in this world, through this world. And with that in mind, as you go, grab onto hope, and we'll talk again soon.